Hi, Gary DeWall here, and this is Bridging the Week from March 3rd to 7th, and today is March 10th, 2014. Good morning! I hope in the US you remember to change your clock Saturday night, or you're watching me at a very wrong time today. Oy vey. Criminal and civil legal actions against former employees of a major worldwide defunct law firm highlighted news in the financial services industry last week, giving many legal and compliance professionals a moment of pause. This week, the leaders of the exchange-traded derivatives industry will flock to Boca Raton, Florida, for the annual FIA International Futures Industry Conference to assess evolving market structure, cross-border issues, the impact of regulation and new capital liquidity requirements, and other topical matters. This promises to be an especially lively gathering, as the industry, particularly in the U.S., seems to be an important threshold, with swap execution facilities increasing in importance and 3 new CFTC commissioners likely to be in place soon. Watch my tweets from Boca this week, but for now, let's get started reviewing last week. Both the Securities and Exchange Commission and the District Attorney of Manhattan took legal actions against former senior officers of the defunct law firm Dewey & LaBeouf, alleging that they engaged in accounting fraud to deceive the firm's lenders, investors, and others. The SEC's complaint related specifically to alleged fraud by Dewey & LaBeouf through certain of its most senior lawyers and former financial staff in connection with the firm's issuance of a $150 million bond offering during April 2010, as well as in certain quarterly certifications required by the firm afterwards. The SEC is seeking disgorgement and financial penalties, as well as permanent injunctions against all the defendants, among other sanctions. The criminal indictment alleged fraud both in connection with the same bond offering, as well as various loans from 2008 through 2012. Both the SEC and the criminal indictment allege that the named firm employees participated in a scheme falsely to amend Dewey & LaBeouf's financial statements to help disguise a horribly worsening financial predicament and inability to satisfy various loan covenants. In bringing these actions, both the SEC and the Manhattan District Attorney are relying on a large number of emails which they allege support their allegations, including one where a defendant in the SEC action expressly discloses his preference not, quote-unquote, to cook the books anymore, and another is captioned, quote-unquote, accounting tricks. Geez, emails again. Even lawyers screwed up in writing down too much here. But this should also remind firms how important it is to maintain an effective and ongoing electronic communication surveillance program in order to help detect potential illegal conduct or suspicious conduct before serious problems are discovered by third parties, especially regulators. During their appearances before the Senate Agriculture Committee on March 6, 2014, Timothy Massad, Sharon Bowen, and Christopher Giancarlo, all nominated by President Barack Obama to serve as CFTC commissioners, with Mr. Massad additionally nominated to serve as chairman, all pledged support generally for all the U.S. swap market reforms that began with the passage of Dodd-Frank in 2010. However, each articulated different priorities where they believe the CFTC should go from here. I wrote a summary of their views in a special article published on my website last week. Check it out. A former employee of the Bank of East Asia, Chak Ze-Wa, was banned from the financial services industry for life as a result of his 2008 efforts to disguise losses from his trading of stock options for the bank. Previously, Mr. Chak was convicted in a Hong Kong court of obtaining access to a computer with a dishonest intent and sentenced to 10 months in prison. The bank sustained losses in 2008 of 80 million Hong Kong dollars, or over 10 million US dollars, as a result of Ms. Chak's losses, which he then endeavored to conceal by entering false parameters regarding such trades into the bank's trading system. The SEC filed an administrative complaint against Worldwide Capital and its sole owner and president, Jeffrey Lin, for selling short securities in advance of 60 public stock offerings from October 2007 through February 2012. In general, in the United States, it is prohibited to purchase securities in a public offering where the purchaser has sold short the same securities with a specific time, a so-called restricted period. This period typically begins 5 days before the pricing of the offered securities and ends with the pricing. The respondents to settle this complaint agreed to pay $7.2 million in sanctions. Simultaneous with its issuance of a press release related to this matter, the SEC issued a risk alert related to short selling in connection with public offerings. I have a link to that on my website. Check it out. And finally, in a very interesting speech on March 3rd before the Institute of International Banks, SEC Commissioner Daniel Gallagher attacked the new requirement of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve that requires certain large foreign bank organizations to establish U.S. intermediate holding companies over their U.S. subsidiaries. According to the Commissioner, requiring such intermediate holding companies to meet enhanced liquidity risk management standards, to conduct liquidity stress tests, and to hold a buffer of highly liquid assets based on certain projected funding needs during a 30-day stress test, broker-dealer subsidiaries will impede such entities' efforts to help support U.S. capital markets by inhibiting their ability to engage in short-term funding through securities funding transactions such as repo and reverse repo, securities lending, and borrowing and securities margin lending. Commissioner Gallagher has some interesting perspectives on the differences in the purpose of capital requirements for banks and broker-dealers, and why the new Fed rules ignore these differences. Check out the full article on my website. Well, that's it for this week's Bridging the Week. For more details on each article, as well as additional articles, check out the full article version of Bridging the Week on my website. Also, again, watch out for my tweets from Boca Raton this week. Until next week, I'm Gary DeWaal, and this has been Bridging the Week. Ciao!